into our show that is called Real Shame. It's a show where we, us two guys, watch movies from our list of shame or movie blind spots. Basically movies that we have, for some reason, not seen, and we're fixing that for you. I'm Adam.
I'm Andy.
This week we're watching some movies that I've never seen, and to introduce those movies to you, I'm going to toss it over to Andy. Why don't you tell us what we're watching today?
Alrighty. In the early 1890s, Frank Hopkins is a haunted man who enters a faraway race, a 3,000-mile race to be exact, across the desert, across the so-called Ocean of Fire, for a chance to win $100,000. I don't know what that would be in today's money.
That's a lot.
It's
a lot now. It's
yes,
a lot
it'd be a heck of a lot now. His method of transport, his trusty horse, Hidalgo.
Sheikh Al-Riyad is keeper of the Munikia stallion. His Excellency's royal stables preserve the purest equine bloodline in the world.
And he wishes to invest in the Cody enterprise?
The Sheikh of Sheikhs, His Greatness, is beyond investment. His pride is in his family horses.
You see, Mr. Cody, the Sheikh's own stallion, Al-Hatal, is the greatest living endurance race champion of all time. The Sheikh saw your show in Paris. His honor was deeply insulted by your claim to exhibit the world's greatest endurance horse and rider.
Hidalgo is a legend, my friends. He has never lost a long-distance race.
In America, perhaps. On deserts that women from my country could cross on foot.
So Hidalgo was directed by Joe Johnston. Joe Johnston got his start as like a visual effects guy. He worked on the original Star Wars trilogy that George Lucas did. He went on to work on the first two Indiana Jones movies, actually won an Oscar for Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then he transitioned into directing later in the 1980s with the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He would go on to direct movies like The Rocketeer, which we've done on the show and we're fans of, Jumanji, the one with Robin Williams, not any of the newer ones. And he's also done an entry in the MCU, and that would be Captain America, the First Avenger.
And didn't he also direct Jurassic Park, the third Jurassic Park movie?
He did, Jurassic Park 3. You are correct, sir. Yeah. So he's done some good stuff.
Yep. Some not good stuff.
Okay stuff, yeah. but some good stuff, definitely. I know you really like the First Avenger, Captain America, the First Avenger.
I do, and I like The Rocketeer a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we both like The Rocketeer a lot.
Awesome.
Honey, Shrunk the Kids, solid movie. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so...
Nah, nor I. And not the forgettable sequels. He didn't do any of those. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and whatever else. Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves is one.
Honey, the Dogs Are Talking to Us.
Hidalgo was written by John Fusco. John Fusco has written things like the Young Guns movies, Young Guns 1 and 2, The Babe, about Babe Ruth, starring John Goodman, The Highwayman, which is a more recent Netflix film about the guys that went after Bonnie and Clyde. I actually like The Highwayman.
I heard that was good. I don't know if I heard from you it was good, but I heard it was good.
It's one of the few Netflix films that I've actually liked. I feel like most of their original programming, I'm like, this is not good. But I actually like The Highwayman. And then he did another horse movie. This one was animated. It's Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. So he'd already done a horse movie before he did Hidalgo. Hidalgo was filmed in California, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Montana, and Morocco. One of these things is not like the others
No.
in that list. But,
and it's Montana, right?
Yeah, yes, it's Montana, exactly. Hidalgo stars Viggo Mortensen as Frank Hopkins. Viggo Mortensen was already a big star at this point because he was fresh off doing the Lord of the Rings trilogy as Aragorn. Omar Sharif plays Sheikh Riyad. Louise Lombard plays Lady Anne Davenport. Saeed Tagmawi plays Prince Bin Al-Ri. Zuleika Robinson plays Jazeera. She's the Sheikh's daughter. J.K. Simmons has a role as Buffalo Bill Cody.
And he has hair.
Film. Yeah. Fake hair, but yeah, he does have hair. And a bushy mustache and kind of pointy goatee, just like Buffalo Bill did. And C. Thomas Howell has a very small role at the beginning of the film. C. Thomas Howell trying to get away from Soul Man. And Malcolm McDowell, who we've seen in Time After Time.
Yep.
He has a very, very tiny role. And in fact, I think he's uncredited completely in the cast. So that's the cast. This is a movie that I have seen once before. I saw it. I remember when this came out in 2004, and I saw it. I don't think I saw it in the theater, but I saw it when it came out on DVD. So probably 2004, 2005 is when I saw it.
Yeah.
For my one and only time. So this is my second go around, but I know this is a movie that you've never seen. I feel like we've mentioned it before, maybe when we talked about Joe Johnston before or something like that. And so I thought I would throw it over, or put it on the list, throw it on the list, and see what you have to say about it. But what did you know about Hidalgo? I'm sure you remember when it came out. What did you know about it going into it, and what did you think about this particular horse race movie?
Yeah, I also, like you, remember when it came out. I don't think I knew that Joe Johnston directed it, because I think I would have wanted to see it if I knew he directed, because, for my fondness of some of the movies he's done, like The Rocketeer and stuff like that. So I don't think it was him. I think I remember it being, for me, like a kid's movie. Like I was like, oh, this is gonna be like a movie for kids. I don't know why I had that impression of it, but that's what I kind of remember was like, okay, they're doing like a horse movie for kids, like an adventure kind of horse movie for kids. So I really just kind of wrote it off as that, and just never really kind of wanted to see it, and because of that. But now I have. So I didn't know. So I didn't know much about it going into it. I didn't know that Viggo Mortensen was in it. I didn't know it's based off of, I guess, I don't want to say a true story, but it's based off of like a Paul Bunyan kind of like a folk tale, I guess, would maybe be a better definition of it, like that may be based on true events and all that kind of stuff. So I knew like it was kind of based in some kind of reality, I guess, as is most things.
Did you think Hidalgo was Viggo Mortensen's name?
No.
Okay.
Because I think the trailer made it pretty clear the horse was called Hidalgo.
Okay.
So in watching this movie, it's okay. I'm a bit underwhelmed by it, to be completely honest. Yeah. I think it's passable, but there's nothing in it that, to me, that I found really exciting about it. The two things that really kind of stood out to me, actually maybe three things, was one is all the stuff before the race I really feel is unnecessary. Because I don't really feel like it gives, of course, a Frank Hopkins pathos and gives him a reason, but I don't really feel like it factors into the way he wins the race, other than shows like his gritness and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I really didn't need, like, maybe if they combined both like the Wild Bill's West Show and the mass murder of the Native Americans like into something smaller, it would have been better. But we have this like, he's delivering the mail, then we have like we're murdering this, Native American people, and all of a sudden we're in Wild Bill's show and he's drunk, and then all of a sudden we're into this thing. It just felt like that could have been a little bit smoother and in a transition, or maybe shortened a little bit. I think that would have helped. The other thing is I feel like this movie is really kind of paint by numbers a little bit. It just feels very, like I said, generic. Or I didn't say generic, but it feels very generic to me. It feels like it could be Hidalgo, it could be some other horse. There's nothing that I think from it that made it feel like itself. Like made it feel special anyway. It just felt very generic and paint by numbers. And I think part of the problem is I think he used the wrong kind of movie for the template, because I feel like this movie is going for more of a like Indiana Jones kind of action adventure-y kind of thing. Mm-hmm. In fact, the trivia calls out that one scene is, an homage to the first Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well, I feel like you're looking at the wrong kind of movies to build this movie, because I don't feel like the action adventure template fits, like The Mummy or Raiders. I think if they chose like a racing movie, would have made it better. Because I think the race itself is inherently interesting. And the fact that there are like forces that are trying to make sure Frank Hopkins doesn't win, so it's not like a completely fair race. I feel like that gives you enough drama and enough stuff to build a full story out of, where we really don't need all that kind of stuff. We don't need him kind of exiting in the town and having his little Indiana Jones adventure, stuff like that. So for me, that's kind of where the movie kind of rubs me, a little bit different ways. So that's why I'm kind of like, it's okay. It's not going to blow your socks off. It's not a terrible movie by any means. I mean, we just finished a week of some pretty awful movies, so this is definitely better than that. But for me, it just kind of maybe middle of the road.
Yeah,
is how I came out of watching it. I really wanted to like it, especially seeing Joe Johnston's name on it. But for me, it didn't really resonate very well with me. So that's where I stand. I'm going to toss it over to you. You said you saw it in theaters. So what'd you remember about the movie after seeing it, and what'd you think about it this time around?
Well, yeah, I was pretty enthusiastic about this movie when I saw it. I remember at the time my roommate and I both saw it, and I think even then it was shaping up to be a box office failure.
Yeah.
Because it didn't do super well at the box office. I mean, it was kind of a disappointment for the studio. But my roommate and I were very enthusiastic about it. We thought, gosh, this is a really good adventure movie. Like, why aren't more people going to see this kind of thing? So we were definitely champions for this movie back in the day, back in 2004 or whenever. And so not having seen it since then, I was curious. I mean, going into it, I was like, I remember really liking this movie before. Yeah. But unfortunately, I kind of follow where you do on it. I don't like it as much now. Yeah. I agree. I think it's okay. I think it's watchable. And I do feel like more people should see it. I mean, because it's a decent enough watchable kind of adventure film. But yeah, I was feeling the length of this one.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is really long. I mean, I guess I don't necessarily mind kind of the backstory. But I agree with you. I think it should be shortened some because it does feel like it takes a long time for him to finally get to the race.
Yeah.
Some other things you said I agree with, but some things that I thought about the movie was I actually think, and this may sound weird, I feel like they cast Viggo Mortensen because he was really hot off the Lord of the Rings movies. I think he's kind of miscast, honestly.
I will definitely. I agree.
I mean,
100% agree.
I feel like. I don't think Viggo Mortensen's a bad actor. I've liked him in plenty of movies. I like him as Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but he's so kind of tight-lipped in this movie. Yeah. And I know he's supposed to be kind of this laconic cowboy. You know, he doesn't say a whole lot, and he's haunted by his past, and he feels ashamed about his past or whatever. All these things. So he's not necessarily going to be the most verbose guy in the world. But he comes across as, I feel like we've described several people on the show, or several characters in movies as almost like aloof.
Yeah.
And just not really, just very reticent, doesn't want to talk about stuff. And so I feel like it hurts the characterization because I'm thinking the guy needs to be a lot livelier. I mean, he rode with Buffalo Bill Cody, and he was like president, you know, and he has this colorful horse that does tricks. He kind of does tricks at the Buffalo Bill thing, and then he never really does them again.
Yeah.
The rest of the film, I thought they were going to have
have the horse jump over or something.
Yeah, do some crazy cool stuff, but he doesn't really do anything the rest of the movie. So I think Viggo Mortensen, again, I don't think he does a bad acting job, but I just think he's miscast. I feel like they should have
bring anything extra or special to
No. I feel like they should have cast somebody else as Frank Hopkins. And another miscasting in the movie, I feel like the Sheik's daughter Jazeera is very weak. I don't like her character much at all. I feel like her performance is really muted. And I mean, yes, she is wearing a veil much of the time, but that's not why it's muted. I just feel like she's kind of lame in the movie. I feel like she's kind of miscast. And Viggo Mortensen's kind of miscast. But it's a bigger problem that Viggo Mortensen, to me, is miscast because he's the lead. So
I think she's kind of a firecracker, and you get the idea that she's kind of has more modern sensibilities. And and I think that also kind of rubs me wrong, too, because I kind of wanted this movie to be... Like, I feel like some of these characters are like... We're looking at them at a period of time, but they have 2004 sensibilities. We're just like, really, would that have been that way if this really happened? Because, like, the Sheik is very, like, modern and is reading, like, Western culture, is up to date. And I'm just like, how accurate... I mean, obviously, how accurate is Hidalgo, but how accurate would that be in this thing? And maybe if these characters were more true to how they would have been in the 1890s and where they're from, it would have created more conflict and more drama. It would have been more interesting. Like, how great would it have been if, like... But obviously, the Sheik and Frank Hopkins, you know, he thinks that Frank Hopkins slept with his daughter, and he wants to... So they kind of... but they start out friendly, then they kind of get into conflict, and they get friendly again. But it would have been interesting, just as interesting, or maybe more interesting. They started out in conflict, where he's just like, hey, look, you say your horse is the fastest, is the best horse. I take personal affront to that. You're out here, I'm going to prove you wrong. And then over the course of the thing, he's like, you know what? This guy has a lot of grit. He has a lot of heart. I respect that, you know, and warms up to him. And I can see, like, that being a better, or if not just as equal of a way for them to build that relationship, you know?
I can see that. Yeah, this film just never rises to the level of like this really rousing
Yeah.
action adventure film to me. Like it's, again, I think we both agree it's perfectly watchable.
Yeah.
But I'm never like I am when I watch a movie like Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, of course that's a hard movie to top.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, I want to be like really pumped up and
Yeah.
excited watching this kind of film. And this film, I'm just kind of like, okay, now they're doing that. Okay, now they're doing that. You know, that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's okay, but I'm definitely not as high on it as I was.
Yeah.
I'm not as high on the horse as I once was
I think
about it.
we've talked about this on other movies. I think this movie would be perfect for a remake because I do think the story is inherently interesting, or the story that's presented to us. I haven't read the original Hidalgo or
Yeah.
whatever it's based off of, or
Yeah.
looked it up much beyond the movie. But it seems like an interesting idea. And we have race movies that are great, like both like wild, crazy, like rat race, like cross the country kind of races. But we also have movies that are focused on car drivers and other kind of races. So I think you can make a horse race movie interesting through the drama of the race. And I think if you cast it better and you take some of the stuff out, you can tell a really interesting story. I think the nuggets of a good story are there. I just don't think it came to fruition this time around.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they could remake this, and not with Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah.
I do love Omar Sharif, though, as the Sheik, because, Omar Sharif, obviously, legendary actor, was in movies like Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Zhivago, and he's just very charismatic. He's just really cool and funny, and I liked him a lot. He's really cool. I mean, again, I liked everybody, and I don't think Viggo Mortensen was bad. I just feel like probably should have used somebody else.
Yeah, he just didn't bring anything. He didn't have that pizzazz.
He did not have that pizzazz. You're exactly right. So I was curious about, the name of the Arabian horse that never loses the Ocean of Fire, of course, never loses till this movie, because Hidalgo is going to win this race. I mean, what's going to happen. I mean, I know we spoil things on the show, but come on, Hidalgo's going to win. But the Arabian horse that normally wins the race, its name is Al-Hatal. And I was like, what? Because I don't think they ever say what that means.
Yeah.
In the movie, but apparently, because Al means the, so like Al Jazeera is the island, the news network Al Jazeera. Al Hatal apparently means like the rain, or the heavy rain, or precipitation, which is kind of funny because they're going across the Ocean of Fire. It's all desert, so I thought that was kind of cute that they named it that. At least if the internet is correct and Hatal actually does mean rain. But I did check several sources, and it seems that way. I do not speak Arabic, but it seems that way. So I thought that was kind of funny. But as you mentioned, Frank Hopkins was a yarn spinner.
Yeah.
Like, he told a lot of tales. And so I think before this movie was released, it was like, oh, it's based on a true story. But then afterwards, it was like, wait a minute, this guy was probably full of shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, by all accounts, it seems like most of what he said never happened. He never went to to the Ocean of Fire to go compete in this race, much less win. They never had any kind of race like this and all that stuff. But of course, that doesn't detract from the movie. It's a movie, right? And who cares if it's actually based? I don't care that Bloodsport's probably full of crap, right?
What?
Frank Dukes.
Oh,
is
no.
full of crap. Yeah. sorry to burst your bubble, but stuff like that. I still enjoy the movie, and I think Hidalgo can still be enjoyed for people, obviously, that like it more than we do. Can still be enjoyed, even though Frank Hopkins was probably full of doo-doo.
Or studio.
Or studio, exactly. It's 46% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It's 64% audience. Roger Ebert did give it thumbs up. He did like it. And Leonard Maltin really liked it. He gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars.
That's crazy.
So, yeah. I mean, again, I give it credit for really, for trying to be kind of like an old-fashioned adventure.
Yeah.
It just didn't quite make it.
I agree.
So, I mean, kudos for trying. It's okay.
Yep.
So, all right.
All right. Well, that was our thoughts on Hidalgo. On these Monday episodes, we like to talk about what we've been watching. So I'm going to toss it over to Andy. What have you been watching, man?
All right. So I was in the mood because I felt like it had been a while since I watched an action movie. No, not a shark movie. I watched plenty of those. I've had my fill for a while. But an action movie where somebody's like getting revenge or they're just kicking butt all over the place. And so, what better person to look to than Mr. Jason Statham?
Okay, yeah.
I was like, there's several Jason Statham movies that I have yet to see, so I just picked the most. I think it's the most recent one, Wrath of Man.
Okay.
Also, I think it was streaming on like Amazon Prime or Hulu or someplace. It was conveniently there.
Low barrier to entry.
Yeah. So I watched Wrath of Man, and of course, I got exactly what I wanted. Jason Statham is out for revenge. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but he's basically out to find these guys and kill them and kick their ass and stuff. And he delivered. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. It's probably a bit too long. I think it's about 2 hours, so it's maybe a bit too long. I think it's a Guy Ritchie film. So you kind of know what you're getting into when you watch a Guy Ritchie film, right? So but I thought it was good. Again, I asked for Jason Statham kicking butt. I got Jason Statham kicking butt. That's all I wanted. So there we go. I liked Wrath of Man, decently enough. I thought it was pretty good.
It reminds me of a movie I bought on site that starred Jason Statham. Jason Statham. It was called Bank Robber or The Bank Robber. And I'm like...
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I'm like, I want a Jason Statham movie and I want a bank robbery movie. And it delivered.
Two great tastes that taste great together.
God, it's like, I like Jason Statham. I love bank robbery movies. Perfect.
Awesome. And so I wasn't done there. I still I craved more action and more butt kicking and more revenge.
All right.
So this time I actually chose a foreign film. It's a South Korean film. It's essentially a South Korean take on La Femme Nikita.
Okay.
So if you've seen La Femme Nikita or the American remake, Point of No Return, or any of that kind of stuff, you kind of know the story. This is basically it. It's called The Villainous. You heard of that one?
I have not, but I like La Femme Nikita. And I like A Point of No Return.
Point of No Return, yeah. I like them both too, and I like The Villainous. I thought The Villainous was good. Again, almost... definitely parts of it are almost note for note, exactly like, those other two films, but that's fine. Like, I knew kind of going into it that it was like basically a South Korean spin on La Femme Nikita. I'm okay with it, because it's got some really cool fight scenes, really cool action in it. Some of the action scenes are a little annoying camera-wise, but for the most part, they're not. And they do some really impressive kind of stunt stuff. And reportedly, there's a scene in there that inspired a scene in John Wick 3.
Oh, interesting.
I won't give it away, but because it came out.
Do you feel like it was?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. But yeah, I like The Villainous. That also, I want to say, was streaming on something, but unfortunately, I don't remember what. But both movies, they kicked a lot of ass, and I enjoyed both.
I was trying to remember the director of La Femme Nikita. I think it's Luc Besson.
Yep. Luc Besson.
Great director.
Yes, sir. All right. So, what have you been watching? Any ass kicking?
No, unfortunately, no ass kicking. I've been watching documentary-esque, real life kind of stuff. I know, boring stuff. These aren't going to be a surprise to you because we've talked about them a little bit before. But I've been watching this show. I'm going to get in trouble. No, I'm not getting in trouble for this, but not necessarily my choice of TV show I'd be watching. But I have other people to consider on that front. So I've been watching this reality show called Alone, and basically the premise is these contestants sign up to get basically shipped off to some place in Alaska, and they have to go it alone, forage their own food, film themselves, do all that kind of stuff. It's interesting, just seeing how people do those things, and it's something that I myself will never be able to do. I'm not that woodsman-y or that kind of stuff. I would tap out within like...
I'd be like, where's the toilet?
Yeah.
They'd be like, no.
So all that kind of stuff. I remember finding it, like, I think it was like a Reddit thread that's like, if you like Survivor, which I don't, but Kirby does, it's like, you should check out Alone. So I was like, hey, here's Alone, and now she really likes it, so we watched it together. It's enjoyable. It's not like I'm pulling out my eyes, but it's not necessarily my go-tos, but it's interesting. It's fun.
I probably asked you this, but what is that on? Like, what are you watching on?
So it's on History Channel. It airs on the History Channel, but I just watch it on Netflix. So right now it's season 8, I guess, is on Netflix, or whatever season is. It's just one season, so it's dropped all episodes. Okay. So whatever comes on Netflix, we watch it.
Cool.
It's not like we're subscribing to any special channels or anything like that for it.
Yeah.
The other thing I've watched, which is far cry from Alone, is I watched a documentary about Tony Hawk called Tony Hawk Until the Wheels Fall Off. I feel like the zeitgeist and everything, like I know a lot about Tony Hawk just from popular culture, and Him being such a well-renowned and well-known skateboarder and all that kind of stuff. And when the movie started, it was showing him trying to accomplish a 900, but he already accomplished the 900 like back in the X Games in 1999. But for some reason, he tried it again, like maybe 5 or 10 years ago, like at an older age, see if he can do it. And I remember I remember watching this on YouTube. It was like a series on YouTube or something like that, or maybe MTV. And so I'm watching this, and I'm like, have I seen this documentary before? Because I'm like, I've seen what is going on, like how they're introing the thing. And they really, it's a completely new, it's just they're using footage from that to kind of set the story, I guess, a little bit for it. So, but there's new things to me that I didn't know about, so I learned a lot about it, about him, about his life, about, other people he skateboarded with and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's actually a pretty well done documentary. There's some surprises in there. There's some parts where it's just like, he caught me off guard, and I got, again, more surprises and some really good storytelling in there, even though he is such a public figure and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was pretty good. And it's 2 hours and like 8 minutes, so it's a little bit on the long side, but if you're interested, it's worth checking out. It's on HBO Max, so super easy to watch if you own that service.
I'll probably watch it at some point. Yeah,
I'll be curious to see what your take on it. But yeah, all in all, it's like, I don't want to say it didn't uncover anything new, but it's a decent documentary if you want to learn more about Tony Hawk.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's what we've been watching. Andy, why don't you tell us what we're going to follow Hidalgo up on Wednesday?
Yeah, so Hidalgo is all about a horse race, but I chose a movie that has another horse race, but this time it's right here in the good old US of A. It is a movie from 1975. It stars not just one rider. I mean, obviously there's multiple riders, but the real person that you're really rooting for is Frank Hopkins in Hidalgo. Yeah. In this movie, there are multiple riders. Gene Hackman, James Coburn, even Candice Bergen. They've all entered a race, and this time it's only 700 miles in the United States, and it's called Bite the Bullet. So we'll talk about that. We'll bite the bullet next time.
Yeah, well, I can't end it any better than that. Please, if you like the episode, like it on YouTube. Please share it, do all that social media stuff. It really does help spread the word, and we really do appreciate it. And like Andy said, come back Wednesday and see if it's worth biting the bullet or not.
And or dodging the bullet.
Or dodging the bullet. Or dodging it. You can either be Neo from the Matrix, or you can be, I don't know, Billy Goat biting the bullet. I don't know. We'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one. Bye.